This video is made possible by Practical Defense Systems, the best online security training at the lowest prices. You can start your security career today online at pdsclasses.com. Check them out. Hi, I'm Joel Persinger. I'm the Gun Guy. Thank you very much for your support of GunGuyTV. I'm very, very grateful. All right, what I want to talk with you about today is the California concealed carry permission slip process. Okay. Because while it improves on a regular basis, there are aspects of it that never seem to improve. And one of those is the time frame. For example, right now, I'm getting calls from students of Practical Defense Systems, some of whom work in the field of security in plain clothes, protecting people and so on, whose permits are about to expire before they will receive the renewal for their permit, even though in some cases, apparently they submitted their renewal on time. And then, at the same time, there's folks who need a permit very quickly because maybe they've got somebody on a temporary restraining order, or they've got some issue where they feel that they are unsafe, and it can take them a year or more to get a permit. This is a time frame issue, isn't it? So before I explain to you what the actual legal timeframes that are required are for issuing authorities in the state of California, and before I show you what the statements are on the San Diego County Sheriff's website, because I'm in San Diego County and I teach the course for San Diego, let me say a few things. One, I think our San Diego Sheriff's a very good sheriff, and I don't have any problems with Sheriff Martinez at all, except for this process issue. And I know some of the folks in the licensing division, not personally, but I know them reasonably well on a professional basis. And I know that they're trying very hard to get this job done. And I know they're trying to do it as quickly as possible. The problem and the excuse we always get is that they don't have enough money. They don't have enough staff. As far as I know, because of the budget issue and staff issue, they're only allowed, and they'll have, if somebody from the Sheriff's Department wants to contact me and correct me, please do, and I will correct it. But as far as I know, they're only allowed to work on these, or only able to work on concealed carry permits one day a week, which is, I think, Monday, because the rest of the week they spend working on things like the sex offender registry and all these other things that they are required to do. So when you have tens of thousands of people with permits currently who have to renew, and you have new applicants all the time, then you eventually run out of bandwidth, and that's, I think, where they are. All right, so having said that, the excuse is always we don't have enough money, we don't have enough people. So I want to start off, as I said, I'm not picking on them personally. I think they're doing their best, but nevertheless, if I were to get stopped tomorrow, let's say, or you did, by a San Diego County Sheriff's deputy because, let's say I get pulled over because my registration is out of date. I didn't renew the registration on the vehicle, which is not the case, by the way. And then I get pulled over, and the deputy walks up and asks me for my driver's license registration like that. And I provide the out-of-date registration. I hand him my driver's license, and my driver's license is expired. And the deputy says, "What's going on with you? Your license is expired. Your registration is expired." And I said, "Well, deputy, honestly, I've been so broke. I just haven't had the money to do it. I want to do it, but I haven't had the money, and I've been kind of broke. But I promise I'll get to it. I'm probably going to be a year late, but I'll get to it. I promise." What do you think is going to happen to my car? You think that deputy's going to let me go? Do you think that deputy's going to say, "Yeah, I get it. I mean, times are tough. We do live in California where we are the highest taxed state for income tax. We pay the highest gas taxes. We pay the highest gas prices. We pay the highest electric bills. We pay the highest of just about everything else. And car registrations are the highest. I mean, all these other things. I get it. I understand. And so go ahead. Don't worry about it. As long as you pay it within a year, maybe a year and a half, you're good." No, that's not what's going to happen. I'm going to get pulled out of my car. My car is going to get impounded, which I'm not going to be able to afford to get out because I didn't have the money to register it in the first place. And I might get myself arrested. I might not. And yet the Sheriff's Department wants me and other law-abiding taxpayers in the county of San Diego to give them a pass, even though it takes them over a year to process an initial application for a concealed carry permit, to give them a pass. even though it takes them a long time to renew a permit, so long, in fact, that, as I said, I'm getting calls from students of mine complaining that they can't get their permit issued for renewal, even though they issued it right away when they were able to get the application in. So this is a problem, okay, because this is not a privilege, although the state of California still wants to treat bearing arms as a privilege. It's a constitutionally protected right. And in the Bruin decision, states like California were given a choice. They can just do what Arizona has done, what many, many, many other states have done. I think, 28 now or something, or 29, have become either constitutional carry or permitless carry. You don't need a permit. Or California could issue a permit if they want to, but if they're going to do so, they have to make it quick and easy and process it on time, and they can't make it some onerous application process, which they've gone out of their way to do. So let me show you what the requirement under the California Penal Code is for issuing concealed carry permits. Here we go. Under the California Penal Code, Section 26205, it specifically states, quote, "The licensing authority shall give written notice to the applicant indicating if the license is approved or denied within 120 days of the initial application for a new license or a license renewal, or 30 days after receipt of the applicant's criminal background check from the Department of Justice, whichever is later, if the license is denied, and notice shall state which requirement was not satisfied." All right, now here's the interesting part. I went to Grok AI on X, and I decided I would ask Grok this question. Can the licensing authority legally extend the process by waiting for a year after the application has been received to begin processing a background check, which, as far as I know, is pretty much what the California sheriff does? And interestingly enough, Grok came back with the answer below. I put it in quotes for you. Under California Penal Code Section 26205, the licensing authority is required to provide written notice of approval or denial of a concealed carry weapons permit within 120 days, I just read a minute ago, of the initial application for a new license or renewal, or 30 days after receipt of the applicant's criminal background check from the Department of Justice, whichever is later. This implies that the licensing authority must act in a timely manner to initiate and complete the application process, including requesting the background check. If a licensing authority deliberately delays initiating a background check for a year after receiving a complete application, this could potentially violate the intent of the law, as it effectively circumvents the 120-day timeline mandated by Section 26205. The statute does not explicitly state a deadline for when the background check must be requested, but unreasonable delays could be seen as non-compliance within the statutory obligation to process applications promptly. Courts have generally interpreted such timelines as requiring good faith efforts to meet the deadline. Now, as far as I am aware, the California Rifle and Pistol Association currently has a lawsuit against, Los Angeles, San Francisco, or someplace, fighting on this very issue, trying to force these sheriffs and police chiefs, where police chiefs issue, to turn these permits around in 120 days and be compliant with the law. And while, as I said, I don't have a personal bent against Sheriff Martinez here in San Diego County, as far as I know, as a citizen, I'm not a police officer, but as a citizen, I would say my impression of her is that she's been a very good sheriff. And I don't have any issues with the folks who work at the licensing authority that issues concealed carry permits. My issue is that they're not doing it fast enough. They're dragging people out a year and change. I've had students come in that have been 18, 19, 20 months from initial application to actually being able to take a class so that they could get their permit in hand. That is absurd. And while they can give me the excuse, and they have, I've been in the meetings with other instructors and I've heard, we just don't have the budget, we don't have the people. I get it, but I refer you back to my earlier example of if I said the same thing to a sheriff's deputy or a police officer when I was confronted with my violation of the California Penal Code, I would not get the grace that the sheriff's department wants from me. And as a result, they're not going to get the grace from me. The law is the law, and the sheriff and every other sheriff and every police chief that issues needs to abide by it. And if you don't have enough money in that department, then pull money from a different department or whatever you got to do to get the permits issued within a timely manner. And that is 120 days or darn close to that. If you're not doing that, there is no excuse, because I guarantee you, Sheriff, with all due respect, you and your deputies are not going to allow me to use excuses like I didn't have the money if I violate the law. You're just going to arrest me, or you're going to take my stuff away, like like my car if I don't register it. Okay, so the same rules apply to you that apply to everyone else. And by the way, the difference of the two is you work for me. I don't work for you. I'm a taxpayer. You're an employee. Get with it. Straighten up, fly right, get it done on time. Now, here's the other part of that. As you look at the California, let me go get it for you. You look at the website for the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. Here you go. This is to renew your permit. Okay, so that's why it says renewing your CCW. It says there on the top. You can submit a renewal up to 60 days in advance. Now, 60 days is roughly, it's 2 months, right? A day here or there. You can submit a renewal up to 60 days in advance, which means that's the earliest at which you can go into their online system and submit your application to renew. And if you go down a few items, in fact, let me highlight them for you so that you can see. I'll stick a circle around each one. There you go. Now you can see it. You go down a little further, you can see where it says processing time for renewals is 6 to 8 weeks due to the volume of requests. Now, I'm going to tell you, I found out recently that the processing is not 6 to 8 weeks. It's 8 weeks. Okay. If you give bureaucrats a range of 6 to 8 weeks, they're always going to take 8 weeks. Okay. If you give them 6 to 8 months, they're always going to take 8 months. That's the nature of bureaucracy. Well, I hate to tell you this, but 8 weeks is essentially 2 months. So you can apply 60 days in advance, and that's the earliest you can apply, and it's going to take them 60 days roughly to get that permit back in your hands. And that's, by the way, the date at which they put it in the mail. And that's not a hard date. It doesn't say on that website that they will send it in the mail within that time frame. They says it's approximate. Could it take them 9 weeks? Sure. So now you've applied the earliest you possibly could, which was 60 days, and it takes them 8.5 weeks to mail out the permit to you, and you have a gap of time when you cannot carry because your permit is not valid during that time. And if you wonder about that, let me show you what it says on the website. As far as I know, somewhere in here, it says down here in the middle, you cannot modify your CCW during this, renewals, documents. Somewhere in here, it says if your CCW is more, there is no penalty for renewal, processing time. Anyway, in here someplace, it says that if your permit expires in the meantime, you cannot carry. So there you are. You cannot legally carry without the permit, and they're under no obligation or no big hurry to get it back to you before it expires. Well, as far as I know, I don't have anybody trying to kill me, so I'm not horribly worried about it for me, although my permit's going to expire here pretty soon, and I don't know if I'll get a new one in the meantime. I hope so. But I've gotten calls from students who work in the security industry, and they carry guns concealed, plain clothes. That's their job. And if they don't get their permit back, they can't work. I guarantee you that if there's some requirement for police officers to be able to do that, they're going to take care of them as quickly as possible, and that's because they're government employees. But the citizen who's got a job could lose their job because their permit isn't issued on time. Likewise, there are folks out there who do have credible active threats. And if their permits aren't issued on time, they're in very real danger. Now, just because I don't have credible real threats at this moment doesn't mean that somebody might not threaten me as when I go out about and do my thing. That could happen. It has happened. But I'll be defenseless if my permit isn't granted in the meantime. Again, this is the problem when we start dealing with permission slips. when I have to get the permission of a government agent or a government agency before I can exercise a constitutionally protected right, then there's always the opportunity for that agency to let me down, and then I can't exercise my constitutionally protected right. So, one, permits are unconstitutional, and they need to be made unconstitutional so that people can just carry by putting a gun in their pocket or whatever and go about their business unless they're somehow a prohibited person. As long as they're legal to carry, if they got a permit, then they should be legal to carry and not have to get a permit. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if California somehow insists upon issuing permits, even though they're not required, and the Supreme Court made that very, very clear, then California needs to get its act together and get those permits issued in a very timely fashion, like no more than 30 days from the date of receiving an application. That's right, I said 30, and honestly, I think that's too long. But I'll accept 30 days, and then the renewal ought to be turned around in 2 weeks. And if that means that California needs to figure out where the money's coming from to do that, then maybe they need to stop providing free health care to illegal aliens and start taking care of American citizens. Maybe they could take the money away from the bullet train to nowhere and start putting those billions of dollars toward making sure that sheriffs have enough staff to be able to issue these permits on time and obey the Constitution. All right, now, if you work for the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, you got an issue with this, and you want to talk to me about it, folks, I've been teaching for you for a long time. You got my number. You have my email address. Send me an email. You're welcome to come on the show. If you need to clarify this stuff, we'll get you on here, and you can do that. Happy to do it for you. It's not a problem. But if you don't have a clarifying point, or you just want to whine, don't waste my time and yours. Get back to work and get the permits issued. That's all I got to say about that. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support of Gun Guy TV. Have a great week, and wherever you go, whatever you do, stay safe.